Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named Sweet Lily Love, titled For Caroline, Two Lies. And if we switch over to here, we got this track on SoundCloud. We're going to open up the album art here, or the single art. Kind of spooky looking. We're gonna listen through this track from start to finish. Full disclosure, I've listened to Sweet Lily Love's stuff in the past, and I've really enjoyed it. You know, she's got a way with her electronic production that I appreciate, and it's consistently good. But yeah, we're here from start to finish. Here what we think. Let's go. That's a nice, friendly sort of synth melody to start the day with, eh? Kind of ominous a little bit, but... Okay, cool. I was wondering if we we're going to get that happening on the... Just because that panning is such a strong design choice. And it's almost like, do we really want to go in that direction of having us searching for the vocals? But because we went from the left to the right, like I was worried it was just going to stay there and be like, no, what's the context for that? I love the drum sounds we get as well with Sweet Lily's stuff. It's never predictable. You've got this kind of interesting reversed reverb. That's a pretty little shimmer there. Okay, this is interesting. This mix is interesting. I don't know why I was expecting a bit more punchiness in this section here with the build. I think you could have totally gotten away with like a sub drop or something like here, just like a doom, although that might have been a bit too cliched and maybe we wanted the smoothness there. You know, I'm not going to tell Sweet Lily Love how to make her own music. It's an interesting direction and journey we're going at the moment. We sound like we're ascending. And I mean, I'm hearing the lyrics out as we go along. We've also got the lyrics on the screen, as you can probably see here. We'll have a look at them after we listen through the track, but... Guitars? That's a nice texture. I don't think we've had that yet. Not sure if I'm feeling the mix on this one. I mean, like, it could be a stylistic decision to have this heavy filtering on the drums and snares and stuff like that, but also, like, when you've got these guitarists coming in, it's interesting. With some of the songs I've been listening to recently, I've been offering to kind of like do like a free remix of them, just because I want to see what you can get away with the different samples. But I know that Sweet Lily Loves knows what they're doing because of the way that everything's automated and stuff like that. I can only assume that this interesting sort of drum sound with these guitars is a deliberate thing. I mean, it's not... I'm wondering why the guitars are on the right with that rhythm guitar, though. Because I'm hearing that correctly, eh? Because it says the title is alternative rock. Look, I'm going to make an offer. Sweet Lily Love... if this is how you want the track to sound, that's dope. It's an unusual sound in comparison to a lot of the alternative rock I listen to. I don't think it's bad. It's just usually you have a little bit more low-end resonance to those drums, and usually you have the guitars panned on both sides. You do like double tracking or something like that. But if you are at any point of like, yo, let Logan have the keys to the car, so let him have the stems to sort of screw around with, let me know. I'd be keen to have a go at having a mix of this and seeing how I do with this. Just out of curiosity. Because I feel like this is where that guitar focus on the right, there's some really cool stuff happening with the vocal melodies. I think the vocal, like the actual musicality of it, the arrangement of it is good. In the sense of like the actual instrument layering and stuff like that. I can understand why we have these leads and the rhythms. And there's probably a bass in there and in the drums and stuff like that. I think it's a cool idea, a cool concept. I think it's really cool how it comes back into this as well. No, this still sounds like there's a resonance on that right side with the guitars. Yeah, no, okay. Because I love the synth layers, they're bright and sparkly. This is an interesting move. I like the fact that we're keeping those EDM electronic elements in there because that's one of Sweet Lily Love's strengths. And I think that there's definitely promise within this this motif here. Yeah, see, we knew that kick there. That was an interesting decision. I don't know how to feel about this. This is an unusual song for me, because we have the lyrics here. I don't know if you can see them. I've tried to make them big. Caroline, 2 lies. I told you when I met you, I told you things that weren't true. You told a lie when you met me. Damn, so they didn't end up getting together. Well, they didn't end up getting together, but it didn't last, right? As someone who is going through a relationship, the dissolution of a relationship at the moment, I can relate to this. But nothing between us but the ocean of time. We have nothing in common but a mutual crime. Damn, dude. I like the lyrics. A little bit of poetry in there, a little bit of rhyming going on. It's cool. I dig it, you know. Damn, the 2 lies, I love you and you love me. Damn, there wasn't time left for a third. When you said the final word. Oh, that's brutal, dude. I'm really sad to hear that Sweet Lily Love went through this, you know. If the lies we told could be unsaid, would it be better or would we... Damn, man, that's savage. Because this is an inclusion in my review of this track. You know, for Caroline, 2 lies by Sweet Lily Love. This is a new avenue, I think, for Sweet Lily Love. I'm liking the fact that we're trying stuff from this genre. There's a lot of promise in alternate alt rock and, you know, electronic rock. I think that if you can find a way to tastefully combine the EDM sort of like electronic elements with the guitar's bass and sort of like maybe acoustic or sample drums, along with the vocal style, it can work. There was a lot of stuff in the mid-2000s and earlier that incorporated both these elements really well. And, you know, you even had synths and stuff like that and bass sub-drops come into like metal and stuff like that, you know, which was like a big deal at the time because people were like, oh, that's not brutal. They're using synthesizers. Everything has to be gross. And it's just like, stop. Stop. Yeah, the story was about, I think, it's a ballsy move making it about someone actually using their name. I mean, I've done this. I've done this in the past. I've written a song about someone. I'll put their name and stuff like that. If you've got to make sure A, it's a banger, and B, that person isn't gonna like, you know, they might not retaliate. You don't want them to retaliate. You don't want them to be like, how could you put this out there about us, you know? But I also understand at the same time that music is often the most authentic when it comes from pain. And I know that's such a kind of crappy thing to say, right? Why can't I make music when I'm happy? And the reality is that if you're happy, you're going through no tension, there's no drama, there's no excitement there beyond peacefulness. Sure, you can make super exuberant happy music, but you're just going to exhaust people because they're going to be like, oh my goodness, I get it, you're happy, you have everything in your life together. Wow, good for you. And, you know, like, you just can't really get around that. It's rough. So, I mean, I appreciate what we're doing here with the story side of things. From the perspective of, like, the vocals, what I did here from Sweet Little Love is phenomenal. You know, we had great vocal technique. We hit all the notes we needed to. Lovely effects chains on that. And the panning was interesting as well, going on those extreme left and rights. I had an interesting time with it. I can appreciate what the effort that was put in on the vocal part. I think that it sounds appropriate for the genre of music that we're going for, including both elements. And I think that we went between the two styles fairly well, and the coloration and texture of it was great. You know, I think that the vocals are really good. The structure and the motif as well were fantastic. I enjoyed the sounds that we had when we were going through, you know. I enjoyed the sounds of the chord progressions and with those guitar parts especially, and little sequences that are ascending and got the you know, there were lots of cooler, unique parts of the arrangement itself. Any complaints I have are mostly for the production part, which we'll get to later on. And with the full understanding that I'm not like $1 million studio owner or some stuff like that. You know, I'm not going to pretend that I'm the arbiter of a good mix. I've heard a lot of them at this point. The foundation was sound. There was like a 2 or 3 chord progression here that we had for a lot of the time. And then we went back to the root note and went with some sort of extended harmonies there, especially in those arpeggios. And like I suppose you had 2 main parts, and they both flowed really well, nicely into each other. You know, so smoothly that I was kind of hoping for a bit more oomph after that first rise into the middle part with the guitars and stuff like that. But I understand why maybe we wanted to have it soft or smooth, because we didn't want to have a whole lot of tension. We didn't want to make it sort of like we're listening to the kind of like, you know, we weren't making death metal here, you know what I mean? We're not going for the heaviest stuff possible. We just want it to be like, hey, there's guitars now, and they're like, there's a bit of drama going on, right? And drama's good. I mean that in a nice way, you know, not in a patronizing or degenerative way. I think that the arrangement, the motifs and the arrangement were solid. The arrangement with the various instruments was good. I think that we had lots, the synth parts, the drum, both different types of drums. Although I didn't necessarily agree with the drum tone we have in the middle with like the lead rhythm guitars, I still appreciate what was going on with the drum beats we were playing. They made sense for what we had, you know, although they were arguably a little bit quiet. You know, when I hear, you know, again, clearly we have a musician who understands how to sort of fit all these different bits together, connect them nicely, make them work, make them behave themselves. And there's a catchiness to those vocal melodies as well, should I say it, in the hook there. It reminds me, again, a lot of music of the mid-2000s, you know, that kind of alt rock, kind of emo stuff, da-da-da-da. Kind of reminds me of a few songs like from Fall Out Boy or something like that, back when they did rock music. Don't worry, I'm not being an elitist, but it's yeah, that's a compliment, because it does remind me of some of the best stuff from that genre. So kudos to Sweetly Love for that. The musicality was there. The recording and mixing and mastering. I think that the vocals themselves were recorded well. When I heard them clearly in the mix, they were sensational. There was a crispness to them that I adore and enjoy. I think that the guitars, the EQing for the guitars was there might have been some resonances in like the mids that needed to be sort of notched out a little bit. But then of course you've got to be careful. It could just be the actual guitar tone that's a bit rough. That can come down to several different factors, you know, because I've spent years trying to find a guitar tone I'm happy with. Years. I know the struggle. Okay. One, you know, did you record it through an amp or did you use a plugin? Right? It gets more complicated if someone else recorded it for you, because then they've got to record the entire track again, or you've got to go get them to find a piece, and it's just, that's why I just like to do everything myself personally, but I understand that's not the case for everyone. Assuming that Sweet Little Love has access to being able to change those guitar tones, I thoroughly recommend sweeping through that with like a frequency analyzer and like trying to find some of those mid-range sort of resonances, just because I think there's room for those kicks to be a little bit more kind of doof, you know. Like, I know that we're not going for like a dubstep kick or something like that. It wouldn't be appropriate. That's why I was happy with what the drums were doing. But I think that we just, yeah, I don't know if it's actually the samples or the drums or something like that. You know, like, because I think that if we had the guitar panned evenly, and it just sounded like one side was louder than the other, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm going deaf. I'm going to have to like check my hearing after this. Although I did actually do a hearing test, so I know that it's probably okay. I've got 20/20 hearing basically. In fact, my hearing in my left ear is ironically better than my right, despite the fact I've had, you know, yeah. It's I mean, finally, you know, like the panning was so cool with like the vocals on the sides. It's just the guitars sound a little bit lopsided. The effects changes on the various instruments were great. We've obviously got our strengths in the electronic stuff, as I've said before, but I like that we're branching out into other instruments and trying to include them in there. I think that's cool. I think it's cool. I have a lot of appreciation, respect for this effort. I'd like to have a play around with it, but also I understand that, like, you know, especially with the way the vocals have been panned, you know, we have a very specific way we want it to sound, and I've also got to respect that. Assuming that we wanted that kind of mid-rangey guitar tone and the whooshiness and roar of it, that's fine, you know. The drums, I suppose it could have been a bit more punchy. I don't know. I'd have to listen through it again. But you know, this is all subjective stuff, I suppose, at the end of the day. It's not like I feel upset, stressed, or angry after listening to it. And I've listened to songs where I've been actually pissed off by the way it sounds, you know, because there's just stuff that could have been easily avoidable. But we didn't have that here. I think we're just trying something new, and which, you know, we're figuring out, and that's cool. The offer still stands though. But outside of that, it sounded nice and loud. There was dynamic range to the performance, which I appreciate. And yeah, that's effectively my review for Caroline 2 Lies by Sweet Little Love. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go and check out Sweet Little Love's various social medias and the SoundCloud page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time as you need the help. More than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.